Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Powering Progress podcast, a podcast where we focus on underrepresented talent and how we can help to navigate careers of individuals, whether they are facing challenges or looking for new opportunities, and to have important conversations that look at how we create environments where everyone really can thrive, to what senior leaders can do, what individuals can do, and really looking forward to the conversation that we're having today. I'm Lanre Sulola, your host from Inner Ambitions, where we're focused at helping teams, organizations, and individuals maximize their skills, insights, capabilities, and really ensure that everyone has that opportunity to thrive. So today we've got a special guest, really looking forward to speaking with him about his experiences and what can be done in organizations to really make an impact. So I'd like to welcome Leroy Logan, who spent 30 years with the Metropolitan Police. He was the founder of the Black Police Association and also a past chair. He worked on the Stephen Lawrence case and also the Damilola Taylor investigation. He retired in 2013, but since then, there's been a TV series, a Small Axe series, played by John Boyega, which shows his story when he was navigating his career, Red, White and Blue, directed by Stephen McQueen. And that was based on his award-winning bio, Closing Ranks. So it's a real pleasure to have Leroy here. I know, Leroy, also you've been involved in a trustee in many different organisations, and also the Reach Forward programme that I was involved in. You played a really key part in that. And I know since then, the work you're doing in really ensuring that organisations and individuals really do have opportunities in the different environments that we work in. So real pleasure to have you, Leroy. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm great. Enjoying the sunshine and trying to organize so many plates spinning, not enough hours in a day, basically. But it's good to be busy than be bored.
Definitely, indeed. I know what you mean around the plates spinning. So I feel you're someone really able to talk about this topic from so many different angles and lenses. I know we don't have a lot of time, but the time that we do have, I'm really sure you're able to shine a light on some of these things. First thing I'd like to ask you is, what does powering progress of underrepresented talent mean to you?
Well, it's untapped true potential. I see that we need to show that over the years, over the decades, over the centuries, that the more diverse an organization is, the more talent, innovation that is brought in. And I think if we stifle that, then we don't get that opportunity and it may come from so many different sectors or different individuals, and which can confound people. We've got some rising stars that have come out of really hard knock circumstances. They've been to the school of hard knocks and they've really come through shining colors, let's say, and they've really just gone from strength to strength. So I think it's a no-brainer that people need to be unleashed. They need to be given an opportunity to achieve their true potential, and organizations need to recognize that and support them, and to show that their careers mean just the same as the white majority, and how leaders assist them is a critical part of that, because there's so much can go wrong. So it needs that right form of transformational type leadership, and not the transactional one that unfortunately a lot of people grow accustomed to.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned that word support, which I believe so key, that no one's able to navigate the complexities, the barriers, the challenges without that support, without that network. And yeah, how you talk about the relationship and connection, that is really important. And yeah, your book Closing Ranks, so important in terms of the time you spend, and also the Red, White and Blue program, which just shows some of the things you personally had to navigate in that time. And I know there's been a lot around the Met, and even when we talked about the institutional racism, and you've definitely been at the heart of some of that. What of from your experiences can you share when it comes to leadership and underrepresented talent?
Well, I can go from the 30 years in the Met, despite the onslaught of the culture, which was toxic then in the early 80s, when I first started. Um, you've got to be anticipating where it can come from, even though it's very, very upfront in your face in those days. Now it's a lot more insidious, it's a lot more subtle. It's not so much what they do to you, it's what they prevent you from accessing to, holding you back from opportunities that can assist in empowering yourself, building a portfolio, showing your unique selling point that um, people don't want to see. And so they'll say, no, we'll subtly just let you leave you out the loop. So you don't even know an opportunity's come and gone. You don't know where you could have been able to develop yourself. So that's how it is now. And it's sad that we're still having these conversations, because I thought as a more modern, sophisticated society with all the potentials, AI and other sort of frontiers that's been broken, you think you'd just get around these things, or get over these things, but it's the human condition. So we need to understand that certain people don't like to be threatened by other people's potential. They don't want to be part of a meritocracy. So you need to, unfortunately, recognize that there's a certain burden on self to not be defined by the people, to get around the system, to ensure that you're equipped. Not necessarily within an organization, you might get equipment from or being equipped from other individuals outside the organization through mentoring. I'm a great believer of mentoring, and of course you need to get people close to you, are relevant and real, so that they can say, well, if one door closes, use another door, or if not, create your own door. These are sort of things that positive approach, not allowing people to get under your skin and prevent you from seeing, well, there is a way forward. I'm not going to be derailed. I'm going to stay focused, stay on track, whether it's prejudices or assumptions or any form of distancing people from what they're supposed to do. Don't allow it to happen. It is easily done. I know it's easier said than done as well, but you owe it to yourself. And I think one of the things I'm a great believer of is own your own story. Don't underestimate the importance of your story. I know there's a lot of stories out there that's not being told, and don't think, oh, it doesn't mean anything. It does. During my journey, in those early days of policing, I didn't think it was going to get picked up by a publisher to publish my book. I didn't know it was going to be picked up by Oscar-winning director Steve McQueen, but it did. I'm not saying it's going to happen to everyone, but you just don't know where it's going to be empowered or highlighted to empower others or to create that inspiration. So don't underestimate the importance of your story, please, because that's giving you the more authentic self. That will give you that real sort of critical thinking about, how do I navigate through the raindrops of toxic cultures, wherever it may show itself. How you have to choose your friends wisely, the mentors, people who can assist you and support you in on that journey. And do understand that it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. It's hard graft. You might be fortunate that you get overnight stardom and you're living the dream. Most of us have to work hard and keep going, especially when the odds are against us. But for me, you don't have a testimony until you're tested. And that's the learning, when you really tested and know the importance of what you've gone through and how you can do better.
Yeah, that's so powerful to hear and really inspiring. And you talked about owning your story, which that's so empowering when someone could do that, especially in some of the cultures that we experience working in, where maybe people feel the way is to latch onto someone else's story or to hide your story. So to really own your story is something really powerful. Would love to just hear how people can actually do that in the day to day. What does owning their story look like?
Well, I think my parents used to say to me that were from Jamaica, and they used to say, check for yourself, check yourself regularly. Um, do that internal inventory that, okay, I'm in the right place. Am I doing things that really play to my strengths? Am I really getting the best out the organization I'm with? Am I getting the best out my family and friends and peers that impact me? And not personally, it could be socially, online work. Are those people really getting me fired up, ready to go, as Obama used to say? Um, and I think that's the thing. Just do that inventory to ensure you're in a good place. You're ready to go. You're good to go. Um, and so you can withstand the challenges and all the barriers and all the things you need to circumvent or get round or go through. Um, so check with yourself is a really important thing. So you know where your milestones are. If you're on track, are you getting those sort of milestones covered? And if not, why not? Where's the learning from that? Because there's more learning in not falling short than successes. So just keep that constantly in your mind and log it. I mean, if I wasn't able to log everything I went through, and it doesn't have to be a Dear Diary type thing. It can be just your own process of ensuring that it is kept very clear, and so that when you go back to it, maybe months, years later, it triggers those things. And I mean, nowadays there's so many ways in which you can log things virtually online, and so that you keep that momentum going, and so that prevents the amnesia type thing. Oh God, what happened in that time? Those sort of things. You've got to keep that process and establish that process and learn from others to say, listen, how do you keep that going? And not allowing yourself to let things slip, because then if you get called upon at any stage, yeah, we've heard about your journey or what you're going through. Yeah, it's something that we'd like to tap in on, and you're able to say, yeah. I went to a conference in Eden Project last week called Anthropy. Anthropy 25 is a national gathering of people who are really just saying how we can reboot Britain and how we can really collaborate and change the narrative on how people are going down certain roads of just regardless of norms and values and character and things that just we as humans should celebrate and celebrate difference and really get over this nationalism and the way in which other people are downtrodden and vulnerable, are ignored and exploited. Anyway, one of the things, and I can highlight other things, but one of the things that got me was we were literally in a lift, and someone Piers Linney was it just finished a workshop. We all going this lift, leaving the venue because it was the last workshop that evening, last Wednesday actually. And I must admit, when he said, "Okay, just tell us what you do," and just before he's going, I said, "Is this literally a lift pitch I'm experiencing here?" And that young man just dropped it, bam. And I saw him the following day, and I said, "How did it go?" He said, "Yeah, I was able to just drop that pitch on there." I thought, wow, that's how it is. You just don't. If you don't have your story in the forefront of your mind, ready to go, bam, you're going to miss the opportunity.
Yeah.
So he was really good. Young man, outside London, doing some really great stuff in schools, empowering young people, and he needs to know that someone like Piers Lenny can drop some really significant opportunities his way, and you could see a light shining out of his eyes. He was really just so grateful for that opportunity. So you got to grab those opportunities when they come.
Yeah, I love that. And that 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 thing around shaping your story, your vision, it's your kind of North Star, if you like. Because yeah, but yes, we need support, but if you don't have that belief and vision and story for yourself, how do you expect others to kind of pick up and run with it? So there is definitely something around that of, yeah, what is it that drives you in the
Yeah,
first?
yeah. In fact, other than my parents saying check yourself, it's do for self as well. Don't. Yeah, I'm not saying don't be cognizant of what things can challenge you and create barriers and unfairness and inequalities and injustices. But you've got to say, well, listen, how do I get through this with the support of others, family, friends, etc. You got to do for self and not expect people are just going to provide for you.
Yeah, that's a powerful message. Because we're saying, look, a lot of this stuff you have within you. Yes, we're not disregarding barriers and challenges, but actually, do you know how much you can actually do? Do you how much skill and value? And like you said with peers, shine that and turn it on. What is it going to do? You talk Leroy around mentors and mentoring being so important. What makes them so important? And also what type of mentors should someone who's navigating their career be looking out for?
Well, I look out at the things we did in 2007, 2008 with the Reach role models and how that national framework was so important. And unfortunately, austerity and other barriers, political infighting, and all this sort of stuff prevented that national role model being rolled out in the way that it should have. But what we've got people like yourself who are part of that original national role models still doing stuff 15 years plus later. And, similar to how I just mentioned Piers, and I don't just want to be about Piers Linney, but because, I was just interacting with him over those 3 days only last week. And he's out there, he's done amazingly well. And I thought this young man was in his 40s, but hey, don't want to be dropping ages, but he's a big man. But he's got this youthful approach. He's got that real sort of sense of, well, I've got to know what people are thinking about, and so he's got this appetite for learning,
Mm.
and especially he's a trailblazer on the AI front, and he has been for years. But he's not just sitting in an office or in front of his laptop, and he has said he's had to keep his head down. He's on a deep learning curve. So even though he could be thinking, well, it's time for me to just relax. I've done it all. I've been on Dragon's Den. I'm cool. No, he's got that desire. He's got that relatability, and I think that leads to him being more approachable. So people will come to him and say, by the way, and that's why the lift pitch was so great. So these are the things that he shows that transformational leadership. He's approachable. He's in the mix. he's, and I mean, he had his robot dog throwing around, doing all sorts of things. I mean, for me, I was, I'm going to pick up on that Piers Linney model, man. I need to get robot dogs
Get a
somewhere.
robot dog.
Yeah, but he did some things on me. I thought, oh my word, man, I'm out of touch. But but don't be fearful of it. Just embrace it. I know there's disadvantages with AI. It's going to cause a lot of challenges for people, especially if you lose your job out of it and you've worked hard to get to that level, and AI comes along and just turns things upside down. But again, it's around trying to improve your critical thinking, to think your way out of this, and keeping calm. Don't get too uptight about it. Just keep learning from others. And that's why that 3 days, I thought, let me learn from this guy. And it's flipped around, which is great. I want to learn from younger people, and that's one of the reasons why I helped set up through the BPA the Youth Voyage program, which is still going strong since 2000, and seeing young people not only thrive and strive, but getting chances to set their own path and get people to recognize it. And still a school governor, I've got to be learning, knowing what's happening. And I suppose that's why the series about adolescence and how social media impacts young people at a very young age, that they can't manage their conflict without resorting to violence, and toxic masculinity, and the vulnerability of women and girls, and all the safeguarding issues around that, and how we have to lead by example and support, and to not take things for granted, be proactive parents and getting in to their world, knowing that some young people are living in a parallel universe because of what they've come up with. I mean, in that adolescence program, they were showing how emojis can have most extreme. We use them innocently, but in the world of young people, it has a totally different context. So the change is a constant, learning is a constant. You got to, I think personal relationships is one of the greatest forms of learning from people. Knowing, hearing from them. I'm a spiritual person, so I want to hear from you. I want to hear your spirit. I want to see what you're going through. I'm old school in that respect. So I want to know what makes you tick or not. And I suppose also for those of you out there who might be grandparents, I love the opportunity to improve on what I didn't do as great as a parent. I'm getting those conversations with my grandchildren. I've got two granddaughters and a grandson, and having those conversations in a way that I never had before. So that's what's keeping me fired up, because I want to make sure that my grandchildren's generation don't go through what my children's generation went through, my generation went through, and my parents' generation. So I'm constantly thinking about how we can improve that future. I know it's a long-winded thing, but I think what for me is just having that appetite to make things happen, and not fool yourself with the luxury of complacency.
Yeah.
We can't allow that to happen. We've got to keep going. Yeah. So even in my late 60s, I'm still fired up. Like
I can tell, I can feel it. And
no.
So great to hear. And
who needs drugs? Just adrenaline, man.
There's so much there, and you talked about kind of the openness to learning, but what also comes out is the wealth and the avenues for learning. Like even this conversation today, when we talk about underrepresented talent, it's clear it's not a linear conversation, because there's so many different things that you said, even whether it is around the social media, the AI, or different generations, that different people will have to navigate and will impact in different ways. And if we're not open to that, if a leader's not open to that, if a leader's not understanding, as you said, how the world is changing and the impact, they're going to stick in their box and saying, well, it wasn't like this in my time, and this is what you need to do to get here, and no other way is going to work, and that's not just how the world works. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on how can more senior leaders, who often are the gatekeepers to the careers of others, adopt that kind of open mindset and really be open up to learning and new ways to support those coming behind them.
Something that I try and get through to senior leaders that I've worked with in the past, and I see stood up there. One of my sergeants when I was at Hackney, his name's Adair Lakin. He's now a deputy assistant commissioner. He's still up there, and I've always seen in him that what I try to put through to him is that don't sit in a box and think, oh, I'm the monopoly of all decisions and or monopoly of all ideas. Embrace other people, and I was really pleased to see how his approach to stop and search and having a stop and search charter. I went to the launch of it a few weeks ago, and I was so proud of him to say, well, that young man as a sergeant, he's been through some tough times, but he's still seen the importance of collaborating and assisting others and bringing people through to the extent that it enriches him and what his strategy is around a very important subject, which has been a touchstone of policing by consent. If people are feeling persecuted or indoctrinated or traumatized by stop and search, and you're not doing anything about it, then you won't be able to police properly because you won't have the consent and the relationships with the community, especially young people. And so that for me, just seeing him, what he's doing, that you've got to look at how you change a culture. I think there's a definition recently where it says the culture of an organization is the minimum level of behavior that the leaders will allow to happen. So if you're keeping a high bar around ethics and integrity, and if you're going to be zero tolerance on anything below that, I mean, I'm not saying, hard hitting approaches. I'm talking about bringing it to people's attention that that's not appropriate. Be proactive. Don't just take things for granted. I mean, I've seen too many, especially the specialist units in the Met, the Firearms Unit, the Parliamentary and Diplomatic Protection Group, where those officers have been the worst because they don't have the scrutiny or under the public gaze or the media focus as general patrol officers. They're kept in their own parallel universe, like our young people. And what can happen? Things get distorted. That's how you got Cousins who kidnapped, raped, and murdered Sarah Everard. Carrick, serial rapist, predator mentalities have been nurturing. 26 officers, at least from my understanding, have been subject to sexual offences. So these things are serious. We can't just say, oh, this is just airy-fairy stuff. This is serious. It's affecting people's lives. People can lose their lives. I'm not putting fear in people, but just know the importance of proper leadership, proper proactivity within your organization and your culture, and not allowing those behaviors just to be accepted, because they call Cousins rapey, and the sergeants and inspectors accepted it. I said, in my time, if someone's been called rapey and I'm not going to do anything about it, what am I there for? I'm going to challenge. I'm going to say, well, what's into this? How can we prevent this from continuing? And people learning from that so that they have got that positive feedback to say how we get things done in a positive, enlightened, uplifting organization, and then it presents itself in the service we deliver, and people think, wow, they're really, really good. they've improved. We trust them. We'll talk with them. We'll work with them. So yeah, for me, it's again, it's just not rocket science.
Mm.
It's quite simple. But maybe it's just people overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
As Martin Luther King spoke about paralysis by analysis or over-analysis. It just baffles me. But one thing I want to mention that I think is really important is reverse mentoring. Some leaders need to get really a reality check on what's happening in their organization. So getting whoever that person or persons and get them to talk to you. I always hear about this an open door policy. Well, some people don't even know where the door is, much less, or the corridor to find the door. And then when they get to the door, they find out it's a revolving door. You end up in the same place you were before. So, don't just say these things just for the sake of it. Live it, work it. As a leader, you want to know what is happening. It's better to know what you don't know than it catches you out in future instances, because I need to know that people will tell me where the fault lines are, where things are not working as they should, where future allocation of assets need to be done. That that word proactivity means so much, because you can anticipate things, and you get people to feel they have that collaboration, that co-production. They get that sense of ownership within your organization, and it's the same sort of approach in how you work with the public and the service that you'll provide or the products you'll provide. Let them get that sense of, wow, yeah, that's something I need because I can identify with it. I've been involved in it. I get a sense that it's you're doing things for me, not at me and against me. So yeah, it's about keeping that understanding that as senior leaders, you haven't got all the ideas. And I'll end with this. Alan Sugar. Oh, Lord Alan Sugar. was being interviewed on BBC yesterday, and I thought to myself, I'm not a great fan of him, but I just love his matter-of-fact approach. He knows his stuff. Again, School of Hard Knocks. I have been from a 15-year-old seeing an opportunity by just looking out my front window in Upper Clapton Road in Hackney in the 50s, and here I am, or early 60s, and here I am on top of the world. And he's still, he's doing his apprentice, and, I'm really pleased that he's got Tim Campbell there to say, listen, oh, wow, and Tim's earned his way there. He was the first apprentice, and that's, I think it's 2005, that one, that's 20 years ago. Tim's still doing it. I'll catch him in a barber shop, and, even though he does it do himself, but his son has to do it in a way that we share the same barbers and name check slider cuts in Hackney Road. But no, in all honesty, Tim's still doing it, and he's got the Bright Ideas Trust and all these sort of initiatives, and that for me is what keeps your cutting edge, keep things sharp, and makes it enjoyable.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It shouldn't be a burden. It should be uplifting, and it should be something that you have fun.
So much there. So much to unpick there, and from the power of those relationships. This podcast is all around power in progress, and it's understanding that you can't power the progress without building those key deep relationships. And even as you were talking, the out of information and insight comes from those diverse perspectives both ways. So as you said, leaders need that mentoring, that mutual mentoring to get those new insights, those perspectives, and to carry things forward. And it's not just an impact on the individual. You talked about some of those wider societal things as well, which makes this so important. And it shouldn't just be like a tick box or we've done the job. This is a continual journey. And can we start to meet together to play that roles? And great that you're talking about people like Tim who are doing this over time, because this is what it needs. It's not I've done a few months, I've done a couple of years. This should be a lifelong pursuit for us. And as you said, not a burden. Like, because if it is a burden, we're going to drop it sooner or later. So really embracing the challenge for doing this is really key. So Leroy, we have come very close to the end of our time. It's been great speaking with you. Just one last thing like to ask you. We asked what Power in Progress was for underrepresented talent, but interested just to hear, for you personally, what is Power in Progress for you over the coming months and years?
Well, for me, as recently as yesterday evening, I'm chairing the 25th anniversary of the Damilola Taylor tragic killing. All killings are tragic, but we all know that Damilola, that image of Damilola hopping and skipping from the library to his death, still resonates in people's mind. I can remember it, and I'm on the 25th anniversary trust to make it a memorable one for positive reasons, not because that young man life was gone too soon at the age of 10, and he shouldn't be seen just for as a statistic. He's is alive, and we've lost too many since then, and fortunately we're seeing too many cases, and that's why the adolescent series, which I've caught only 2, but I know no 3 out of 4 episodes is so important if it's getting the attention of young people, but those in powers to make things happen. And for me, that work is really important, especially as I said, I was involved in the investigation where I brought in a cadre of black officers to help with the house to house, and it led to identifying witnesses. And despite the 2 mistrials, we got a conviction of the 2 young people, and they're victims themselves, and their families. So it's not just the Taylor family that's gone through that. We've seen that with the Stephen Lawrence case, which I've been involved in, and it's still going on. And we've got Stephen Lawrence Day later this month, in April. So these are sort of things to say, well, listen, you've got to learn from our experiences collectively. It's a we, and it's not a black problem, it's a we problem. It's all of us. It's a rainbow coalition. It's a way in which we all come together on this. So I'm really blessed that I'm able to get involved in that, and that this year is going to be really important. So look out for that, and especially the fact that the first chapter of my book talks about how my links with the Damilola case. So I'm not going to tell you all about it. Go and check out the book, Closing Ranks, at all your reasonable, well-known book outlets, Amazon, etc. So I'll stop that advertisement there. You can cut it out anyway if you want to. But anyway, yeah, and then I chair an organization called Transition to Adulthood. That's look at the neurodiversity of 18 to 25-year-olds and how they, even though they're adults in terms of legislator, but they're still being developed. And I'm not giving excuses for types of criminality and repeat offending, but you've got to understand, the traumatic brain injuries they suffer, and not just physical, but psychological, and how we can have a more in tune justice system that's not seen just on retribution, but how we can see it as a way of restoration and rehabilitation, and restorative justice is so important in this regard. And I saw something yesterday on Good Morning Britain how the mother of her son was punched out, bam, died, and she's embraced the guy convicted of manslaughter, who only got 14 months, but she's embraced them in a way that they've just got a play in London called Punch. Such a graphic title, and how that story, they changed their pain into power. And I think that for me, out of all the things I've talked about, Damilola, Stephen Lawrence, all the other things of transition to adulthood, all the work that I'm doing with Voice Youth, is despite the challenges, change what you see as pain to power, and how you turn that around to then to have you're taking steps, strides that you didn't even realize you could do. And that's what it is for me. Let's keep that that cutting edge. And so everyone said, especially my wife keeps on saying to me, I thought you were retired. Yeah, and I said, well, I'm a rhino. And what's that? I'm retired in name only. I must admit, if people think I've still got something to say and it gives them a sense of hope, then as long as I've got health and strength, I'll still be doing it. So long may it continue.
Long may it continue. Well, what a great way to end. Thank you so much, Leroy. There's definitely been things here that's going to empower, that's going to give people hope. I love that what you said, turning the pain into power. And yeah, as you talked about owning your story and really building those connections. There's so much that you've shared that I'm sure that will help individuals navigating their own careers and help leaders also have the impact that they really can have to make a real difference. So it's been a real pleasure. As we've said, do check out Leroy's book, Closing Ranks. Do keep abreast of what he's doing, and do get in touch with him if you need support in your area, because he's not retired as we've kind of felt.
I'm a rhino.
He's a rhino. He's a rhino. A real pleasure. That's the end of our episode today. Look out for other ones coming soon, but take care. Keep powering your progress.